buying a 2-track tractor, the 9RT.
Pulling power.
Pulling power, yeah. So actually this is the best of the three when we talk about getting that pulling power from the engine to the ground, because now we only have 2 motors that are taking that power from the engine and trying to apply it to the track system, where with the wheel tractor we also obviously have 2 axles that are applying that to 4 different tire areas. With the 4-track system we have 4 separate motors that are applying that to 4 different track systems. With the 2-track we just have 2 motors that are applying that. We get the most efficient power all the way from the engine applied to the ground. Anything else? Ballast packages? Sorry? Traction, yeah. So with a track tractor, we do get better traction than what we would get with a wheel tractor. So there is an improvement we see there. We get a little bit of slip with this one that's by design that we don't get with a positive drive system like a 4-track, but it's not near much kind of slip as you see with a wheel tractor with wheel slip. Ballast packages, we can ballast tractors about 9,000 pound range that you can add or reduce the weight on that. So we do have some flexibility there when it comes to ballast that you want to run on these tractors as well. How about maneuverability? I think 2-track's probably the best one for getting around tight corners or tight steering, or getting in, parking it in the back of a barn, or getting in a tight corner in the field, getting back out. Okay, so this has the most maneuverable package of any of these 3 tractors, because it can basically spin on itself, spin in one spot, because of those 2 separate motors. One can turn forward, one can turn backwards with the turn of the steering wheel.
Fortune.
Anything else?
More in the house.
Auto track accuracy would be another one. So auto track accuracy, if you look at the 9R and the 9RX, they have that articulation point, you get that wiggle. So as the globe tries to reach the satellites, and sometimes it gets off a little bit, it corrects itself, you get a little bit of a wiggle. The 9RT, straight every time.
Track wear and tear is another one customers keep in mind, is with the longer track you have, the better ability it has to dissipate the heat, as well as obviously the longer the track is, the less revolutions that track's going to go through over the life of it, the less wear and tear you're going to see on it versus a smaller track like you see on the 4-track tractor.
Moving on to the 9RX.
On the 9RX, sorry.
So, advantage of the 9RX. Brand new, there's a lot of questions around it. What are the biggest advantages of the 9RX? And I can tell you the first and foremost, it's turning under a load. Think about the biggest planter or biggest air seed you've ever seen, or deepest tillage tool you've ever seen. That's where this tractor is going to excel. It's the ability to turn in those wet conditions under load. It has that ability because it has 4 independent drive systems, all tractioning towards the same direction. And that's where it really gets its major benefit for customers. Along with that, it has the most ground contact of any tractor in the family. So it's all about putting power to the ground, right? This has the biggest footprint, almost doubles up what we could do on a standard wheel tractor as far as how much ground contact are being touched by rubber on that. So that also minimizes the compaction. So that's a big benefit of this, is the traction flotation and the compaction story of the 9RX. Very big story. So proud to offer that as a solution for our customers as well. Here's a visual representation so you can see that for yourself. The green bar represents the best, or lowest PSI for that machine form. So you have 9R, 9RT, 9RX up there. You see the 9RT, 9RX, they both do a pretty good job of minimizing ground compaction. 9RX is best in its class there. And the 9R, that's with base tires. There's a multitude of tire options you can put on this machine. Some of them will minimize the compaction, some of them will keep it about in this range, but that's essentially the levels you can expect as far as ground compaction goes. So Brian talked about the advantage of these machine forms, but each machine form has a trade-off. If one machine form worked for everyone, we wouldn't have 3 of them, right? So there must be some trade-offs, must be some good and some bad with each of them. So limitations of a wheel machine. Brian talked about all the good ones, right? What are some of the limitations? Tire spin. They get wheel slip, they get turning, you lose productivity, you lose diesel efficiency, all that stuff are negative effects of a 9R tractor. Traction, slip, you want about 8 to 12% on that wheel machine. If it goes above that, then you start losing your productivity. 2-track and 4-track, you want about 2 to 4% slip at the most. So that's why traction is there. Wheel slip is negative on the 9R. Wide, right? You ever tried to pass one going on the road that gets a little questionable sometimes on some narrow roads, but 15.5 feet across gets to eat up some of that road on the biggest tires. Something you don't have with the 9RT or the 9RX. And in fact, the 9RX can get below 10 feet, so it can almost stay within the lines of that road. So the width, transport width, is another big thing. Limitations of a 9RT. Has anyone ever driven a 9RT? Driven a two-track tractor? Limitations of a 9RT is probably the exact opposite of an advantage of a 9RX, and that's turning under load. So if you picture, again, the biggest planter, biggest tillage tool you've ever seen, and it's turning in a wetter condition or up a field slope, the differential steering, what makes this tractor great, also has one of its limitations, in that it can speed up one track and slow down the other. This leads to kind of a digging effect, and therefore you can't get that turn executed as well. So that is a drawback of the 9RT. Other limitations of the 9RT is we don't have a 620 horsepower tractor option. 570 is as high as we go. We go up to 620 on the 4-track and the wheel, so 570 is as high as the 9RT goes as well.
Berming. Anybody know what berming is? Berming is what we refer to when that tractor makes a sharp turn, so the back end of the tractor will essentially scoot around. It can actually cause dirt to pile on one side. So the sharper you turn with that tractor, the more sideways that track's going to spin and push dirt to one side. So that is one negative we see with the two-track version.
That is true. That's very true. We just talked about the advantages of the 9RX, but some of the drawbacks and limitations are it does come at a price premium because of all those advantages. Price premium over our 9RT and 9R, so that is a drawback. Also, the drive system, and what I mean by that is the number you buy on the hood. So I buy a 620 engine horsepower tractor. How much of that engine horsepower gets transferred to the ground? On any 4-track tractor, that number is almost what we'll call worst in class. The amount of power that gets transferred to the ground. And this is because what Brian mentioned is those 4 independent drive systems have to turn. And so the faster you go, the faster they have to turn those undercarriages. You lose a lot of engine horsepower doing so when you compare it to the 9R or the 9RT. 9RT is most efficient. Most efficient at getting engine horsepower to the ground because it only has 2, like Brian said. But these 4 can eat up as much as almost a whole tractor model. So that is a drawback of these tractors. As many benefits as they provide, there are some drawbacks to it, and that's one of the big ones there. This is the most important part, quiz time. We need participation here, so we're going to call out one of this. What has the lowest purchase price? That's right, thank you. The wheel machine does. What about track durability? What did Brian say has the best track durability? That's right, 2-track, thank you up there. Ballast flexibility. The wheel, right? It has the most range. It can be a heavy tillage tool or it can be a light tractor planting the spring, right? Whereas you have no ballast flexibility on the 9RX and you got a little bit of ballast flexibility on the 9RT. Ride quality. First thing we talked about. We'll accept anything because they're all great. Okay. Turns under load.
9RX.
That's right. Thank you. Yep. Paying attention. Good class today. Positive drive. This is something we didn't really touch on as the exact vocabulary, but a positive drive system has lugs. So that track system over there, that belt has lugs, and as it goes around that drive sprocket, it engages those lugs, and that's how the power is transferred through the belt. Compare that to our 2-track system. There are no lug engagements. The only thing that gets power to the ground is the wrap angle around that drive wheel. So there's nothing engaging, there's no gears pulling through that. Whatever goes through the belt is all because of friction. So it's a friction drive versus positive drive. That'll come up later. Maneuverability. What tractor can basically turn on itself and get around tight spots? 2-track, thank you, sir. And side hill control.
9R.
9R or 9RX would have great side hill control. Slightly better on the 9RX though. Sorry, I can't read that. Efficient friction drive. What tractor is most efficient at getting engine horsepower to the ground? 2-track, thank you. And resale value today. Resale value today. The tires, that's right. Your second, your third buyer, they're still looking for wheel machines. It's a bigger market. Therefore, there's more options to sell that to them. Tire flexibility. Come on, that's the free one. That's right, it's 2-track. Straight line pull. 2-track, very, very good. Yeah, the 2-track's going to have the best straight line pull because if you compare a 570 to a 570 to a 570, wheel track, 2-track, 4-track, in a straight line, the 2-track's going to put out the best straight line pull. Good. A less burming. The RX, yep. The RX is gonna have less burming, yep. And sorry, narrowest configuration. The RX, you have under 10 feet at its best, under 10 feet. So that's a big benefit for that 9RX. And lower cost of ownership. Out of the 3 machine forms, what's going to have the lower cost of ownership? The wheel well. Yep. Because if you look at the 9R and the 9RX, a lot of similarities between those. I mean, you got the same engine, hydraulics, transmission. A lot of it's similar. So the only difference really is the undercarriage and the axle system to get that power out there. So you're going to have a few more moving parts, a few more places to monitor, a few more wear points, what we call them. So that wraps up the class. Any questions? Anything sparked? Anything not quite clear yet? No? All right, I did a good job. Brian did a good
I
job.
tell you that.
I want to thank you for coming through our class. Before you step out of here, just make sure you get a chance to go through the rest of the John Deere booth if you would. We have a lot of new exciting products. We want to make sure you get a chance to talk to some of the folks in the white shirts. Also, if you see any of us carrying around an iPad, if you don't mind taking a quick survey, we are giving away a free lease of a 3D tractor or an 825i Gator. So get more details from that. If you sign up for that, you can also get a free hat with that as well. And then you can also get 2 free months to our Green Fleet program, which also offers you discounts for the next 2 months on our commercial consumer products. If you're looking at possibly buying any of those by completing that survey. So if nothing else, please see the ladies on your way out of the tent. Grab your coupon for your free hat and take it down to the final tent on the end of the display and get your hat there. Thank you.